Hi, thank you so much for coming in today. I'm Miss Hansen. I've been working with your daughter Daisy. Let me say first off that she has been an excellent student to work with. She's very positive, she's very engaged in the curriculum. She's always ready to learn when she comes in. She gives her best effort every single time with every lesson and every assignment I give her, and it's just been amazing to work with her. I've noticed that she has a love of reading, and she's always showing me new books that she's reading, books that she either gets from the library, and books that she brings from home, and she's always excited to tell me about them and what she's seen in them. Um, I have also noticed that she has a love for writing, which is really exciting, and she's really progressed. Like, I've watched her progress from the beginning of the year until now, and she's shown some strong understanding with some very complex concepts, and that's really exciting to have learned about and to see from her. And she's a joy to work with. So thank you so much for letting me teach your daughter. Let me start off with an overview of the assessments that I've been doing with your daughter. So, to better understand how to effectively teach your daughter, I've administered a series of assessments. These assessments have evaluated her comprehension and fluency levels, her understanding of writing components, and her understanding of some basic language concepts. I chose to administer these assessments so that I could appraise her current literacy skills and identify what kinds of instruction will be most useful and beneficial to her at school and in the home. So I want to list areas of strength that I've noticed from these assessments. I've noticed that she's a very intelligent writer, and she's improved a lot over the year, like I've said. I've seen a lot of progress in her ability to write creatively and to include amazing detail, and she uses some pretty advanced vocabulary without any prompting from me, which is really exciting and I really want to continue to work on with her. And she's also a very confident reader. She's a very active participant in her guided reading, like I said. And she's always showing me a new book she's reading, and she just loves reading. I'm really excited to work with her and to continue to expand her learning using her love of reading. And I've also noticed that her comprehension is really improving. She's always really excited to tell me about what she's learned from our guided reading books and from our shared reading, and I really want to keep working on that as well. So to evaluate her writing skills, I took some samples of her writing at the beginning of the year and compared them to the most recent works that she's completed to see what progress has been made and to look for anything that I would need to reteach or work with her on. And I found a lot of improvement, especially understanding of writing structure and different kinds of statements. Like in her beginning samples, which were also great writing pieces, she wasn't using as much detail and had some confusion with sequencing of events, like knowing like what comes first and what comes second, what comes last. And she didn't know the difference between like facts and opinions. And now her writings are filled with amazing detail and is just very descriptive of either like what she did this weekend or her Halloween costume or her favorite animal. It's all very descriptive with a ton of detail. And she also has a very firm understanding of timelines and what happens first, next, and last, which has been a huge improvement from her beginning samples. And the most amazing thing I've noticed is her understanding of different kinds of statements, which has been really hard for a majority of the class. Daisy understands how to craft introductory statements, supporting details, facts, opinions, conclusion statements, and she's already demonstrating her understanding of compound sentences, which I'm really excited about. I think her love of reading has really helped her with this progression, especially considering the new vocabulary she's been implementing into her writing. In one writing about coloring with her friend, I saw the word tertiary, and I was honestly amazed. I didn't know what that word was, and I had to look it up. And I asked her what the word meant, and she gave me a full description of the word and explanation about all the different colors that can be made and how it made sense with her writing, so that was super interesting to see. And with her reading, I assessed her current reading by administering a series of running records. And during these running records, I would give her a book to read and then listen to her and make notes on her reading as she read. And I actually have an example of a running record in which she did a really amazing job on. And as you can see, here's that for you. This is a level J reading that she did. And I think we found that that's her instructional level. And this is something that she can read pretty easily. And so just for clarification, all these check marks signify a word that was pronounced and read correctly. And then any notes I've made has been areas where we can make progress or where she tried an identification strategy and something that we can discuss. One thing I'm really excited about with this is you can see when she doesn't know a word, she tries something. She doesn't stop and just stare at me. She tries to decode the word and see what it could sound like based on the first consonant, the ending consonant, and the vowels that she sees. And as she's trying this, she will look at the sentence to see if it makes sense to her and to see if the word makes sense. Like here she said horses because she saw the H and she saw the ending S, and she decided to try horses. The word was houses, and as she looked at it and she kept reading, she went back and she saw that horses didn't really make sense for the sentence. And so she tried it again, and then she self-corrected herself and she realized that the word was houses. And I really want to keep expanding on these word identification strategies and decoding the words as they come to her. And just continuing in these self-correction strategies, which will be really amazing. And just the fact that she's using a self-correcting strategy really demonstrates that she's consciously thinking about how the sentences fit together and how even the individual words fit together. And I definitely want to keep working on that with her and expanding upon that. And also, we were talking about her comprehension. So to assess her comprehension, I used retelling records. And I have one of them right here that I thought was really interesting. Let me find that real quick. Okay, so for this one, what I would do is I would read a story with her a couple times in different places, and then I would read it to her and have her retell me what she learned from the story, what she saw, the beginning, the middle, the end. And I would have her give me details and tell me what she remembers about the characters and how they reacted to events. And as you can see, she remembers a lot of vivid details. And she remembers a lot about the characters and how they were interacting with each other and with the story itself. And she remembered a lot of interesting new vocabulary. Like when we were reading, you can see right here, she used the word homely to describe what happened or describe how the character looked and how it fit into the story. And I asked her about it, and she said that she remembered the word because we discussed what it meant. And she liked the word and wanted to continue to use it, which I thought was really interesting. And she uses this new vocabulary to create more understanding for herself in the story, which I want to continue working on as well. And when she's doing this, and she does need some prompting, like it's not all unaided retelling, she does need some prompting, but she doesn't need as much. Like just the simplest question about what the character was doing in this will prompt a lot of vivid detail and a lot of sequencing of events. And that just shows me that she really understands the material she's reading, and she's applying that knowledge to her understanding of the text and of the characters themselves. So I have some recommendations for how we can continue to develop these strengths. So to continue to progress in her writing, I want to work with her in school, providing daily writing opportunities that will challenge her. And I believe that as she's practicing her writing skills in the classroom, she will continue to improve like she has over the course of this year. And to help with that, I was hoping that at home you would look at her writing assignments and have her look at them with you and work on revising instead of just writing. And I want her to be thinking about how she's thinking, be using metacognition strategies to understand why she wrote what she wrote and how it fits with the and how it fits with what she thinks now, and if there's anything she thinks that she could change or correct, and to just work on self-correction strategies, not only in reading but in writing as well. And to expand her reading skills, I want to recommend modeling word identification strategies during read-alouds and shared reading. And she's shown a lot of potential with her word identification already, but I think that if we teach explicit strategies for identifying these words that she doesn't quite know yet, it will be really helpful to get her to be identifying these words faster and more efficiently. And I think we could work on her reading skills at home by teaching prosody, which is reading with expression, because she is getting a lot of the words right now, but she's not reading with expression or showing me that she can read them fluently. Like, there's some gaps in her reading. And if you could model reading with expression to her, or having her read a familiar book with as much expression as she can, I think that will continue to enhance her reading skills beyond just word identification and into fluency. And along with her reading skills, I think we can work on advancing comprehension as well. And in the school, I think we can do this by using the author's text and her background knowledge for specific purposes. And when I'm in guided reading with Daisy, I want to work more on activating her prior knowledge to supplement the text and make it even more meaningful for her. I believe this will really strengthen her already wonderful comprehension skills. And at home, I think we could work on this with her by teaching her to make predictions based on what she has read about the book already and about what she thinks, maybe using the illustrations to help her make predictions. I think that will really help her. Okay, so moving on beyond the good stuff. There's a couple areas that I wanted to work with her on. Specifically in this time, I want to work on only one or two things. One area of need that I want to work with her on is spelling. So there's some complex spelling patterns that she has a really strong understanding of, but there's other spelling patterns that we're still working on in the classroom. And another area that I think we could work on together is high-frequency words. These are sometimes a little hard for her to identify in readings or during spelling tests, and I think if we're working on them a little more, we can make those a lot easier to identify. So I assessed Daisy's spelling using a primary spelling inventory. And with this assessment, let me get that out for you so you can see it. Here it is. So with this assessment, I gave her this list of words right here, and I read them one at a time, and I asked her to spell them for me whichever way she knew how, and if she was unfamiliar with the word or was having trouble with it, to just try what she thought would be the best way of spelling it. And with that, I was able to assess her understanding of consonants, of short vowels, long vowel patterns, inflected endings, and digraphs and blends. And with that, I noticed that she has a very strong understanding of digraphs and blends, which is really good because that's a difficult concept, especially from ages 7 to 9. And a really strong understanding of consonants, but she's having some trouble with long vowel patterns, and specifically confusing the two kinds of long vowel patterns that we're learning. And with her high-frequency words, I used a high-frequency word reading task, and I did this because the teacher I was working with said that they've been having some trouble with high-frequency words during her intervention time. And so I used this high-frequency word reading task where she was given a series of words in little cards, and I asked her to pick them up if she recognized them and to read them for me and then to hand it to me. And if the word was correctly read, I would put it in one pile, and if it was incorrectly read, I would put it in a different pile. And so as she was doing this, I noticed that she has a really strong understanding of some high-frequency words and other ones she's having trouble with. And specifically, she will substitute these words. So if she sees on, she might say one instead. Or with when and then and what and that, she'll switch them around. So when she saw then, she said when. And when she said that, she said what. So I want to work with her on, once again, word identification strategies and decoding and fluency strategies for this reason. And that way she'll have the skills to identify these words in a way that is a lot easier for her. So some recommendations I have for the areas that I want us to work on is with her long vowel patterns. I want to work with her in school by teaching explicitly the long vowel patterns in a small group or in an individual mini lesson, because we've been doing a large group, but I think it might be getting lost in the large group teaching. So because 7 to 9-year-olds typically do have confusion with CVCE and CV spelling patterns, I think if we're working on them one-on-one or working them with small groups, this will really help her to improve on understanding which vowel pattern to use. And then I think it would also be valuable to work on these at home by practicing reading these words and modeling identifications of these patterns. So as she sees you identifying the different vowel patterns, this could improve her understanding of how these patterns differentiate with different words. And in school, I want to work with her, or sorry, not in school. In school, I want to work with her on decoding and fluency strategies by teaching high-frequency words in mini lessons. So I think as she has more exposure to these words in many small group lessons, she'll be able to identify these words a lot easier during her guided and independent reading time. And at home, I think we could work on modeling or identification strategies when you guys are reading together at bedtime or whenever you guys have your reading time together. And I think as she sees and hears you, she will try to model your behavior in identifying these words, and it'll become a lot easier for her, and she might take the time to look and identify the words before reading them out loud, and I think that will really be helpful for her. So in summary, your daughter has been such a pleasure to work with, and she's shown so much growth and achievement in literacy, specifically in her writing and her comprehension and her reading. And she shows so much potential for growth with her spelling patterns and decoding high-frequency words, and I'm so excited to see her progress throughout the year as we supplement her learning with the goals we've set to work on today. And I've really enjoyed working with her, and I'm thrilled to continue working with her this year. So thank you so much for letting me be her teacher and allowing me to work with